Hello everyone, welcome to the Museum of American Speed. My name's Tim and I'm the curator here in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we have a very special guest, a guest I'm very excited about because as a curator, most of the time we're focused on what was happening 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, but today I get to talk about something that happened just this past summer. So the special visitor that I have with me is a young man named Cade Richards, and he just recently was awarded this past summer the Rookie of the Year for the IMCA Northern Division Sport Mod class. And Cade, welcome to the museum. What does it feel like to have your car here on display with all these other exhibits?
Well, it's a big deal to us and me for having all this other stuff and these great names out here and my car right in the middle of all of them.
Well, you're a pretty remarkable guy. So tell me, how old are you right now?
I'm 15 years old.
15 years old. How old did you have a birthday since you drove this car this summer?
Yep, I was 14 the whole year until September 16th.
Holy cow. Like, I remember being 14 years old, learning how to drive a 64 Plymouth with a push button. It wasn't anything like this. When you drove this in here, it made all the pictures on the wall go crooked. This is a beast. So tell me, how did it happen that a 14-year-old can strap into a car like this and go racing? Obviously, did you have some mentors, some family members that were involved in racing?
My dad, he helped me along the way, and him being in racing really helped me a lot. So him being there and helping me out, and then him racing these sport mods a couple of years ago, and him being in a sprint car now really helps with him giving me advice and other stuff.
That's cool. So not only do you have this race car that you take out to the track, but your dad races a sprint car as well? Wow. That has to be a fun night in the garage, having both these cars side by side and wrenching on them. Your dad must be a pretty amazing guy, obviously, to want to get you involved in racing. And tell me a little bit about how that started. I'd imagine you spent some time with him at the track, kind of as even a younger man, growing up in all of this. And what was the decision like to put you in the car?
Well, when I was little, I'd go to the track and watch him race modifieds at Eagle and I-80 and all those tracks around here, and I just wanted to be like him. And then he got me into cage karts and go-karts when I was 4, so it just started there and branched out to this now. Well,
that's great. Cage karts are pretty wild too, and that's a great way to learn how to drive. And so many great drivers start in go-karts. And was there a lesson that you learned from go-karts that kind of corresponded or helped you when you finally strapped into a car like this?
Just being consistent and have to hit all your marks and be there at the end and not crash out or spin out and do that other stuff.
Yeah, I would imagine that's a lot of it. Not kind of keeping a cool head, and I've heard a lot and read a lot about you. You're a pretty mild-mannered, cool guy. I mean, were there ever times in the car where somebody cut you off or almost wiped you out, where you wanted to say something? Give me an example of that if there is one.
Oh, that doesn't happen very often because I try to stay away or not get into people, but it happens sometimes when people get into you and it might take you out or get you out of the line or something.
I would imagine so. Was there like a turkey dinner discussion at like Thanksgiving, and Dad finally said, "Hey, here's the next step"? What was that conversation like? Because I know what I was doing when I was 14. I didn't have a 4.0 grade point average like you do, and I didn't get to drive one of these. So I'm just kind of interested in how's that family dynamic? Was it, or did your dad just say, "Hey, strap in, take this for a lap, and see what it's like"?
Oh, he told me we were gonna have to work on this, and this is gonna be our project for the winter, and we got it all ready to go. And then we went out and raced and tried to do our best every night.
Well, it sounds like you did a great job. Can you give me an example of, did you have any kind of plan going in that Rookie of the Year was what you were shooting for, or was it a points deal, or was it just get the car in a couple races and survive and then kind of go from there, see how it worked out?
Well, our goal at the first start of the year, very start, was just try to finish every race and be there and not tear anything up so we don't have to spend more money than we had to.
Yeah.
And then later in the season, about halfway or so, that was our goal, to win the Rookie of the Year and get that award. So
Yeah, and I've met your dad. He's just such a great guy, really mild-mannered guy too, just like you, so I see where you get it from. How about mom? Is mom involved in the racing too?
Oh yeah, she, like this year at the end of the year, she works on sponsors and
Oh,
sends out
that's great.
emails and does all that stuff. And then during the year, she organizes the racing bag that we don't want to do.
That's
So,
cool. Well, you know, if it's anything like at my house with my kids, you know, mom's a big factor. I mean, without her, you know, no one goes anywhere. So I wondered if that was maybe the case. Tell me a little bit about, you know, racing here locally or in Sioux City or wherever the track may be. Do you think the other drivers were considerate of you because of your age, or was that even a factor? Do they even think about that, like, holy cow, that guy's 14 years old?
oh, I think it might make them even race me a little bit harder.
Oh,
they
is
don't,
that right?
They don't want to get beat by a 14-year-old, but
That's cool. You know, I never thought about that, but you know, that's a really good point. Did you make some friendships that you didn't expect kind of coming along the way? Or when you're out at the racetrack, is it more of a competitive thing where it's like, yeah, we don't really talk small talk, you know, and go back home without any of that?
oh yeah, we made some friendships like with people that I wouldn't think we'd meet, like national point leaders and other people like that, and being able to talk to them and give each other advice and be able to just be there with them and talk to them about what they think.
Sure, absolutely. Do you have, you know, I always wonder about the world at the racetrack. If there's anything like what I remember, a young, good-looking guy like you driving a great car, having some success. Do you have like 15 girlfriends, or how does that work?
No, I try to concentrate on the racing. and
Well,
not
good
do
for
the
you.
girlfriend
I was
part.
hoping you'd say something like that. That's pretty wonderful. And I just touched briefly on you being a 4.0 grade point average. You know, I know how hard that is, and you know, not only having to focus on racing and getting the car ready to go, but then also keeping up with your studies. Has that been a challenge, or does a lot of that come naturally for you?
Oh, it can be a challenge, like in April and that area, but usually I can keep up on it. And he says the school work first, but usually it turns out, and I'm out there on Monday washing the car and trying to get it ready. So.
Well, that's really cool. And you know, as someone who started, I didn't start as early as you, but I started drag racing when I was, you know, maybe 16 or 17 years old. That kept me out of a lot of trouble. Do you think racing kind of keeps you from, you know, if there's a party on Friday night, but you have to get the race car ready, do you think it kind of keeps you away from some of that world and more hunkered down in the garage with Dad to make sure you're ready to go racing?
Yeah, it can. It keeps me out of trouble, and it keeps me busy, and it's a lot more rewarding than going out to a party. And
well, sure. Well, I could definitely see that. As far as the car itself goes, racing a sport mod, you know, how does it differ from other cars that someone might go and watch? Just say I go out to Eagle Raceway and watch a weekend of racing. How is this car different in you know, not only the tuning, but just the way it handles and learning how to drive it? Because I know even bringing it into the museum, it's kind of like a lunar rover. I mean, the way the suspension moves is completely different than any other car. Can you talk a little bit about that?
oh, you can see the sport mods at Eagle, but then like comparing them to even a modified, they don't handle the same, and they're a lot different in their respective ways. Like they have a lot more suspension, and they can do a lot more with that. And then sprint cars are completely different. You're on the gas a lot more than you are in these. So
Sure. Are these kind of like you put the pedal all the way down in the straightaway? Do you have to lift quite a bit in the corners, or how does that work?
oh yeah, you have to lift quite a bit in the corners to get it slowed down, so you don't just slide across the whole track and use 8 tires instead of 4 with somebody else. But yeah, you have to use brake and gas and all kinds of stuff, but sometimes you can't even get it nailed on the straightaway, so you just have to work on that throttle control and all that stuff.
Sure. When things go wrong on the car, what goes wrong the most? What is there a typical part that seems to be kind of the weak link in these particular kinds of race cars?
Oh, there's no real weak link, but if a shock goes bad, that's a big part. But
Yeah.
usually just the setup. If you're wrong on the setup or you miss it in a heat race or something, you can be way too loose and go backwards. But there's usually not much you can break on these if you keep up on the maintenance throughout the week.
Sure. do you know the second you're in the car if it's set up right, or does it take you a little while to kind of feel it out? Does it change through the night sometimes and start feeling better based on track conditions, or how does that work?
Oh, yeah. Throughout the night, you can really tell if it gets better or worse, but usually in the first lap of a heat race or hot laps or a feature, you can tell pretty much if it's going to be good or not. But from heat race to feature, sometimes we have to change quite a bit on the car to get it ready and get it winning and up front.
Yeah. How do the conversations go with people your own age? Because I remember going to school, I was already past the golden age of drag racing, where every kid in the high school had a cool car, or a muscle car or something with a big engine. Nowadays people are on their cell phones, the cars drive themselves, driving a Tesla around. How's that conversation go with people your own age when you're at school and they say, hey, what do you do for fun? And you tell them, hey, I race a sport mod. Do they even know what that is? Or do you have a following of friends at school that are kind of like your cheering section?
My friends pretty much know what it is and they've seen them, but some people, they don't know what they are and they don't really understand it. But
yeah, no matter how much you explain it, they never really get it. I would imagine sometimes have some people that come out to the races because they know who you are from school, and do they turn into fans, or does it more of an acquired taste? You have to keep coming back.
Oh yeah, like some teachers have came out to my
really?
races, and
that's great.
People I've met along the way, and they've came out and they come support me, and it's a good time. So.
Well, I can see why. You're a very likable guy. I want to go out. I want to buy the T-shirt, and I want to be in the cheering section for you because, I appreciate somebody that can balance the things that you're balancing, and being able to do this. We love the IMCA here at Speedway Motors and of course with the museum, and we think it's just such a fabulous sanctioning body. Can you tell me, what are the rules as far as when can you start driving? Are you 14? Is that kind of the earliest you can do it?
Yep, it starts at 14 usually is the minimum age you can jump into a sport mod or any of the other classes, and then you can be as old as you want and keep racing, and there's a few restrictions that you have to do, but usually 14 is the minimum.
To jump into sprint cars, is it pretty much the same age?
Yep, it's 14 too.
Okay.
I think it's 14 to get an IMCA license. So.
What advice would you give, like say my son, when he turns 14, he wants to go racing. Is there anything you know now that you would tell the younger version of you, like as some good advice if they were going to try to get into racing?
I'll just be smart with everything you do and not be crazy and out of control, and just try to be smooth at first if you're not going as fast, but still learning, but get faster as you learn more and not out of control, and you can be a lot better when you get older.
Yeah, I mean, that it says a lot about you, and it says something about your driving that you were able to bring your car into a museum. A lot of guys that race in circles, it doesn't look like this at the end of the season. So that, I think that's a testament to you being able to keep a calm head and stay out of trouble. What's your future look like? If you could see yourself in 5 years, what do you think you'll be doing?
Well, hopefully I can be a multi-time national champion and be up there. And
I like that.
With those guys, but hopefully just be track champion, state champion, and stuff like that. Start out small, but work our way up. So.
Absolutely. Do you ever envision yourself moving out of sport mods and into sprint cars at some point, or do you kind of want to leave that alone? Because I know there is some kind of division there between sprint car people and modified people. It's like two different worlds, right?
Well, I hot lapped my dad's sprint car this year.
Oh, did you?
After the races one night, and it felt pretty good and it's fast, so we might try that out in a year or two. So.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, very, very fun. I just appreciate everything that you do. I think you put such a great face on the sport. I think you show young people that there's more to life than getting on Facebook and vegging out in front of Netflix. I think you're out there doing it, and I know you turn wrenches on this thing, which is really important to us. Here as a museum, we're always thinking about how can we get young people into cars and racing, and you're the epitome of that. And I think it's a great testament to a good family too. Having met your dad, I'd love to meet your mom someday. Just such a great guy, and I can tell he just thinks the world world of you. So with that said, keep up the good work. I think it's wonderful.
Well, thank you. It means a lot.
Well, sure. Well, thanks to everybody for joining us here at the Museum of American Speed. Keep an eye on this guy, Cade Richards. What a guy. You'll meet him, you'll like him the instant you do. So hopefully you'll join us again for other visitors we have here at the museum. Until then, everyone take care.